Hi, welcome back to Examining Life, a life that's worth living. My name is Amanda. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's Thought Experiment Thursday. Today's thought experiment is called Amoeba-esque, which is the 46th thought experiment in the book The Pig That Wants to Be Eaten. The source of inspiration for this thought experiment was Derek Parfit's Reasons and Persons. First, I will give a summary of the thought experiment, then I will review the philosophical themes, and then I will end with my analysis. I also want to send a thank you to my patrons and subscribers, and if you haven't already, please subscribe. One day, there was a man named Derek. His nickname was Worm Man. Why was he called Worm Man? Because scientists manipulated Derek's DNA with a feature of garden worms, the ability to regenerate tissue. And the regenerated tissue would be identical to what was previously there. The doctors then chopped off his hand, and a new one grew back within a month. But then his body started deteriorating, so they had to transplant his brain into a new body. Otherwise, he would die. However, a major error occurred during the operation, and his brain was completely split into two. Both halves eventually did regenerate the other half, and both brains were put into new bodies. Now both men had his brain, memories, and personality. They both thought they were Derek. This created problems for Derek's significant other, and there were legal issues regarding Derek's assets. Which Derek was entitled to his belongings? Which one was the real Derek? The philosophical themes that I'm going to discuss from this thought experiment are the self, identity, and nature versus nurture. In this thought experiment, Derek had two selves, after his brain was split into two and put into two different bodies. However, this seems contradictory since the self is inherently singular at any given time. This thought experiment seems to imply that the self is one's brain or mind, since the two new bodies were both thought to be Derek. This disregards the possibility of Derek being completely dead when his body deteriorated, despite his brain somewhat being saved, or maybe even saved twice. What is the self anyways? Is it one's brain, mind, body? A combination of any of these? One of these, or none of these? If one of Derek's new bodies died and the other lived, it is illogical for the same person to be both alive and dead at the same time. Would Derek be alive or dead in this situation? And who was Derek? These questions led me to think about Aristotle's notion of essence. According to Aristotle, being rational was fundamental to the essence of human beings. And please see a link to the source in the description below. What was Derek's essence? If both of Derek's half-original, half-newly grown brains were rational, then they were both human beings. But were they the same human being? I would say this brings us to identity. Something that this thought experiment does not state, but something that I would want to know in order to get a better feel for his identities, were whether or not both brains were put into similar bodies, and even similar bodies to his original body, or were the new bodies completely different from each other and or different from his original body. For example, were they both the same size, height, weight? Was one skinnier, fatter, taller, shorter? How about race? Were both of the new bodies of the same race? And was Derek's original body of the same race as well? If one brain was put into a white body, and the other was put into any other race, a non-white body, each of these two new Dereks have the potential to experience the world very differently, despite being the same person, with the same personality and memories. Will the two new Dereks keep Derek's original values, or will they diverge on what each values? To what degree do these intersectional factors of identity truly define or make someone who he or she is? What if one body traveled the world and was exposed to so many different things, while the other body stayed in his hometown for the rest of his life? Despite having the same brain, the two bodies have completely different experiences, views, knowledge, and interpretations of society and the world at large. This brings us to nature versus nurture. This is a pretty important concept in determining both of Derek's new identities. And before I get into this, I'm just going to clarify. Nature is one's genes, so this would be his brain, and then nurture is his experiences. Given that both of the new bodies had all of Derek's memories and personality, if the two bodies were separated at any given time, these variances in nurture have the potential to make the two bodies two separate people, despite having the same brain. Let's continue with the intersectionality example. If the two bodies of Derek's brain were different from each other, and or different from Derek's original body in any way, how then do the experiences of each Derek going forward form his future individual selves? I would make the case that nurture is much more important than nature in this situation. Nature may be the same, but the way each body experiences the world has a much greater impact on each identity going forward. Thank you so much for watching this week's Thought Experiment Thursday. What did you think of this thought experiment? Let me know in the comments below. Please be sure to subscribe, comment, like, and share. Stay tuned every Thursday. Thank you. Bye.